Hello everyone. Today we have an anime that I don't know anything about at all. I don't even know that I've seen it. Ready for a boring but informative retelling? Almost like Japanese novels, speaking of which, a Sky Shooter. In the year 2115, most people live a peaceful urban life, but they have had to part with some of the comforts of the past. It was time for a peaceful life that most believed would last forever. But what no one expected was the emergence of a new disease called degradation, which led to the death of the sick and the rapid transformation of their bodies into sand. The new disease is slowly but inexorably spreading throughout the world. The main character, a teenager named Toru Kazasumi, is determined to live the unremarkable life of an ordinary student. One day, he goes to his classes at the academy. On his way, he meets his girlfriend, named Kyoka Katajiri. They both have feelings for each other, and so they continue on their way to the academy together, holding hands. Their journey is interrupted by Kyoka's brother named Kyoma Katajiri. Kyoma picks a fight with Toru, because he is holding hands with his sister. Thor no longer wants to fight this fool and continues on his way to the academy alone. His act has not gone unnoticed by the global ranking system known as the Key Matrix. This system analyzes and evaluates each person's abilities in this world and assigns them to different levels, depending on their actions, background, skills, and many other factors. The higher a person's level in this system, the higher their social status. Like in China, since Toru is an orphan and comes from a poor family, there is no way he can rise above the level of E. After the history lesson is over, all the students begin a combat training session, which divides the students into two groups. Boys against boys, girls against girls. Despite the fact that Toru only has a leveled, his fighting skills are incredibly good, and among the girls in terms of fighting skills, Kyoka stands out. Meanwhile, Toru doesn't want to stand out among his peers, so he deliberately loses a training fight with Kyoma. Realizing that Toru doesn't want to fight seriously and succumbs to him, Kyoma gets angry. After lessons at the academy, Toru and Kyoka return home together, chatting nicely, but suddenly encounter a strange vision. Toru sees an unknown to him ghostly girl who somehow seems very familiar to him. When he tries to approach the girl, she quickly runs away, leaving him with a message written in chalk. When Toru and Kyoka try to catch up with the mysterious ghost girl, they accidentally fall through a hole that turns out to be a passage to another parallel world. Once there, the teens witness a battle between people with superpowers. Looking around, Toru and Kyoka find the body of a murdered man. Fearing for their lives, the teens take out their training weapons and are suddenly attacked by a stranger. Kyoka and Toru desperately defend themselves against his attacks. Toru takes the opportunity to approach the stranger from behind when he loses his guard, but the moment their enemy turns around, Toru is heartbroken to see that the stranger looks just like him. Because of the slight confusion, Toru misses the opportunity to take the fatal shot. The twin stranger seeks to kill Toru, and he would have succeeded had it not been for the latter's incredible reflexes. The boy finds himself in a situation where he can only dodge his twin's attacks, until help arrives in the form of Remy, a student at the same academy where Toru was studying. Remy banishes the doppelganger and takes the teens with him back to their world. After teleporting to a military base in their world, the teens lose consciousness. So Toru regains consciousness and is taken to meet Dr. Ardner. The doctor explains that they are fighting the inhabitants of another world to protect their world from their invasion. It began about 2 years ago, when they were contacted by some beings who called themselves Timekeepers. The Timekeepers warned the authorities of this world of the threat of apocalypse from the invasion of the inhabitants from the other world. To save this world, future generations built a time machine and gathered worthy warriors, and the Timekeepers gave them access to a special weapon, energy conversion technology called an energy Q. However, all of this was not enough to win, as after each skirmish with their enemies, they become significantly stronger. Arner believes that Toru and Kyoka have enough fighting skills to take part in this fight, and therefore wishes them to join the rest of his fighters. For Toru, this turn of events proves to be too much stress, and he needs time to digest everything. The doctor expresses his understanding that this is all rather difficult to accept, so he hands Thor and Kyoki their new weapon sets. If they ever want to join this fight, they just need to open their kits. Once home, after some thought, Toru decides to join the fight between the two worlds. The next morning, Toru goes to Dr. Ardner's laboratory. Upon arrival at the lab, Toru changes into his combat uniform, after which the commander takes Toru to the training room. The kid sees that Kyoka has also become part of the team and is already training with Remy. When the Kyoka notices Toru's appearance, she stops training and flies up to Toru to show him her new combat uniform. Why I ever told it to you? I don't fucking know. Toru then takes part in a training match against Suzuna, a young and talented female assassin. Toru thought he was much stronger than Suzuna, but she turned out to be a master of stealth techniques and defeated him because of it. When Remy sees the outcome of the fight between Toru and Suzuna, he decides to test Toru's fighting abilities by throwing 2 small stones at Suzuna. In less than a second, Toru tosses Suzuna aside and easily dodges the stones himself. Scientists in the lab constantly monitor all fighters in training and explain to Toru that his unique ability is that he is able to increase the speed of his reflexes and perception extremely strongly at will, as well as to control the passage of time to some extent, which is very useful, damn it. While Toru marvels at his superpowers, Susanoo is presented with a knife to Remy's neck for daring to attack her surreptitiously. At this time, a discussion begins about Kilma's decision to allow the 2 students to join their battle. Soon the alarm sounds and Toru, along with the rest of the team, is sent to the time machine. Before being sent to the other world, the Kilma tells them that they must avoid injury at all costs, because if they die there, it will be impossible to bring them back. When they arrive in the other world, they immediately encounter their doppelgangers and a battle ensues. Team Toru fights their doppelgangers from the other world, but Toru's attention is distracted by the appearance of that mysterious ghost girl. Toru wants to solve her mystery and bluntly leaves his team behind. Because of the numerical superiority on the side of the enemy in the team, Toru was in a difficult situation. You bet their protagonist is abandoned. To protect Kilma from the attack of the doppelganger, Suzdana covers his back with her body. The shot of the Toru doppelganger pierces Suzdana's body through. But before he dies, Suzdana manages to detonate a grenade and manages to destroy the Kilma doppelganger. The first fight ends with losses on both sides. Since this was the first real battle for Toru, he begins to feel the stress of real battles. Toru blames himself for Suzuna's death. If he had fought with the team, Suzuna would still be alive. Kyoka goes to Toru to console him, and a romantic atmosphere develops, but it is interrupted by a siren's howl. This time, it is about competition. A portal is opened in the center of the city, and the team that gets to the goal first gets 5 times as many energy cubes from the timekeepers. Toru volunteers to be part of the main attack squad for this battle. Chiyoma is against this and points his gun at Toru, then shoots him, but Toru dodges the bullet. After such a test, Chiyoma agrees to let Toru take part in the battle. The squad members quickly change into their battle suits and teleport onto the battlefield. Their plan is to destroy anyone who gets in their way. Toru fights his doppelganger in a race to the top of the tower where the portal appeared. Eventually, they both reach their destination at the same time. After passing through the portal, the battle between the doppelgangers continues until someone says quit it. A girl who looks like a dead Susan comes out of the door. She introduces herself to Toru as the Guardian of Time. The Timekeeper has taken the form of a Susan to talk to both boys. Seeing that the battle ended in a draw, she gives a reward to both boys. After the reward, the Timekeeper begins to explain to Thor that in 10 years, both of their worlds will have time warping technology that will allow the people of both worlds to travel between their worlds. However, this will lead to a full-scale war between the 2 worlds. This will result in people from both worlds destroying each other. And since both worlds are the same world in different time periods, the actions of people from the future in relation to people from the past affect people in the future and change the future, resulting in people turning to sand. What? Basically, the Timekeepers have created a kind of game between worlds, in which the winner gets everything, and the loser's world is destroyed. Doppelganger, Toru is satisfied with the status quo and the game of Timekeepers. If the future is uncertain, why not destroy one version of the future, if it will help his world survive? After this conversation, the Timekeeper teleports Toru to the world of Toru's doppelganger. Kyoki's doppelganger finds Toru lying unconscious, but instead of killing him, she takes him to her home. Kyoka tells Toru that her world has recently gone through centuries of war and natural disasters. Humanity is struggling to survive, huddled together in small groups. There is not enough food for everyone. Fighters from the past participate in a game of timekeepers in exchange for food from timekeepers for children and orphans. In addition, it is known that there is no problem with food in the world of the future, and they could use the food. While communicating with the Kyoki doppelganger, the Toru is teleported back to the world of the future. After teleporting to the future world, the Toru encounters his doppelganger from the past, who was found unconscious by Kyoko and Remy. The two Toru begin a firefight. During the shootout, one of the bullets ricochets and hits Kyoko. Toru's double takes advantage of the confusion and teleports back in time using a time machine. Remy and Toru are enraged by the doppelganger's act and jump into the time machine as it prepares to send the Toru doppelganger back in time. The doppelgangers fight the Toru doppelganger. Remy uses earth power from an energy cube, which will increase his powers many times over. Remy uses too much energy, however, and his body turns into a giant sandstorm that covers a large area. It's a very strange thing I'm retelling, but okay. Toru, who has followed his double along with Remy, gets caught in the sandstorm and falls into a strange waking dream. The kid tries to get out of this Jinjutsu, but he has no luck. Only when Toru accidentally touches some balcony with a child's drawing, he comes to his senses and sees a mysterious ghostly girl. She tells Toru her version of the future. As it turns out from her story, she comes from a more distant future than the world in which Toru lives. In this girl's future, people found the first energy cube at the edge of the solar system. Then they set up mass production of these energy cubes and created a time machine. Well, when people went to the past, they started a war with their ancestors. So the war between the two worlds began. Eventually, her world used the technology of the energy cubes to invent technology that turned humans into absolute weapons. Perfect weapons created in human form called Doden. The military used it in war, but failed to calculate the consequences of using such destructive power against their ancestors, and they all turned to sand. Apparently, people didn't go to school at all. How can you not know that if you destroy your ancestors, you will also disappear? Okay, who cares? Let's move on. The souls of those who died in that war created some entity that began to call themselves timekeepers. The timekeepers didn't go back in time to save humanity, but to make sure that in every possible timeline the end of the world and the birth of the timekeepers took place. This girl is a scientist who used a time machine to travel back in time to save the world. Their conversation is interrupted by the intervention of the timekeepers, but the girl uses her powers to keep the timekeepers out. It sounded ambiguous, but you get the idea. It weakened the girl. Before disappearing completely, the girl turns the energy cube that Toru received from the timekeepers into a special energy cube. Meanwhile, outside the sandstorm, both sides are fighting a battle. Toru emerges from the sandstorm with his newly improved gun and wants to tell everyone something important. After listening to the kid, the representatives of both worlds decide to act together temporarily to stop the sandstorm, which is the epitome of a daring weapon. Their plan is to destroy the weapon's core and save Remy, who is still alive. Suddenly, the sandstorm spawns a huge number of combat robots, which attack both sides, and I am still reminded that I don't understand anything. During the battle, it quickly becomes clear that the dead robots will be endlessly replaced by new ones. Both sides begin to take casualties. At some point, even the female combat robot XX98 makes the decision to intervene and save the humans from annihilation. She teleports directly to the center of the sandstorm and heads for its core. Upon reaching the core, the robot goes into self-destruct mode, creating a powerful explosion that disperses the storm and exposes the core. Toru uses the power of the energy cube to combine his two guns into one cannon. He fires at the core and successfully destroys it, and in turn saves Remy. However, the core, after being destroyed, turns into a giant energy cube. Toru does not realize what is happening as he is forcibly teleported to the world of the future. In the world of the future, Toru is imprisoned by Dr. Arner's orders. It is soon revealed that the two Arneras in both worlds are secretly cooperating with each other. They believe that they can prevent the end of the world as described by Toru, and that all time travelers must be destroyed. Thanks to new data from the Toru, they are now able to mass-produce energy cubes, and if they do, they no longer need to fear the timekeepers. Suddenly, the base's security system is breached. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Toru escapes. Arner orders all of his soldiers to kill all of the time travelers. Toru tries to save the Kyoku, but she has already slaughtered all the soldiers herself. Together, they successfully escape from the base. Their former teacher provides them with a temporary shelter. After spending the night, Toru and Kyoko hold a meeting with the rest of the team. After discovering the plan to save the world, most of the team prepares for the impending battle, while Toru and Kyoko enjoy a picnic and have their first date, after which they head off to battle. To stop the apocalypse, they must prevent the start of mass production of power cups, which means eliminating Dr. Arner. The second step is to open a portal to the dimension inhabited by the timekeepers and destroy them. Meanwhile, in the world of the past, the Toru doppelganger also holds a meeting, but their goals are completely opposite. The Toru doppelganger believes that by creating a good present for their world, they will create a good future for themselves. Soon the two Torus meet again on the battlefield. The Toru Kens from the future install an isolating time dome, which completely cuts off the energy of the giant energy cube from the rest of the world. Toru manages to convince his doppelganger from the past that they both need to destroy the timekeepers and put an end to this struggle. The two hackers in both worlds team up to create a cosmic rift through which both Toru can reach the timekeepers. Entering another dimension, the two Toru are caught up in an illusion. The timekeepers show them the tragedies of the past and the future and try to prove that the apocalypse is the liberation of mankind. However, the efforts of the timekeepers do not convince the two Toru. They point their weapons at them and shoot, so the Toru leave the illusion and find themselves facing an army of robots. Toru's twin summons to take on the robots and instructs Toru from the future to destroy the timekeepers. Sneaking through the horde of robots, Toru finally meets the boss. Meanwhile, the timekeeper behaves arrogantly since this is not his real body. To destroy the final boss, it is necessary to determine the correct time axis in which it is located. The hackers immediately find the time axis he is in, causing the timekeeper to be forced to transform into his true form. The timekeeper warns Thor that their actions will only bring them uncertainty in the future. However, Toru doesn't care at all. He is already ready to fight. Toru uses all of his powers to destroy the timekeeper, but his power alone is not enough. At this point, Toru's doppelganger appears, and together they destroy the villain. Believing that the end of the world has been averted, Toru from the past points his weapon at Toru from the future. The Toru doppelganger wants the giant energy cube for himself. A battle ensues. Toru can predict the movements of his doppelganger. The doppelganger surrenders and offers peace. And that's it. If you liked my video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Bye-bye.